Dalton.
Yes. The not quite so gleaming gem of the Chicagoland area, the south suburb capital of entrepreneurship.
It was very hard for me on Wednesday to separate some things because of what happened last Friday.
Why, whatever do you mean? I thought Dalton had a lovely, tense, exciting moment with their coterie.
That's going to get them all murdered.
Well, no one lives forever, including Kindred, strangely enough. Let's see. So it is 4 minutes past. I haven't heard from anyone saying that they would not make it, so I'll send out a quick missive.
I see John said something about he's playing the VR chat, so we might want to yank him out of there, and then he's showing online, but you know how that goes.
But yeah, poor Lucio's either going to kill a bunch of people or get killed.
All right, so it looks like John won't be able to make it. I just did a small quick exchange with him. Waiting on Leonetti, and I haven't heard back from Nikki just yet. But, as is always the case, there are eventualities and extenuating plans for a hopefully really nice session all the same. So while we wait on Leonetti and Nikki to drop a line one way or the other, are there any questions that we have in regards to where we'll be starting?
Haley's new. I have no idea where we'll be starting other than in some random safe house.
Oh, yes. Well, Pompeo. Most people call him Don Pomp or what various other nicknames to try to approximate a closeness to him, is the Baron of South Haven. The safe house you guys are staying at is one of his primary compounds throughout South Haven. And while he is one of the most technologically invested kindred in the area in most of Indiana, he in fact is almost completely antithetical to that same drive. What he uses to keep a watch and keep the area safe and protect his borders and boundaries of his domain, of his barony, are the very same tools he uses to maintain a distance. He doesn't have an electronic footprint. He doesn't allow electronics outside of certain areas inside his compound. He is very much a throwback to the, standing close and talking while smoking caricature of organized criminal heads. The playing crazy, walking down the street in a bathrobe to make sure people believe that you are not capable or competent enough to run a multinational criminal enterprise. And that's the sort of at heart character he is. He was one of the reasons why Leonetti ended up finding the coterie through a former Torito who no longer exists, Mason McGinnis. He also is close enough to Gary to be a threat, but because of his stance of if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense, there hasn't been a real push yet. But with Evelyn coming out of the shadows of Juggler's reputation, with it being proven that she is in fact the powerhouse in Gary, tensions are rising, partially stirred on by former coterie member Marcus Farmer, partially stirred on by Leonetti, partially started on because there was an understanding that Evelyn had betrayed the coterie, which is not in fact true. At base, the coterie proved themselves to be enemies of the Anarch cause and of Evelyn herself, and instead of destroying them, she minimized their ability to do anything more than either bend the knee and kiss the ring or be driven out of the city. How she did it, they didn't like, and have sworn a vendetta against her, which is the reason why the make piece of going to find the Mad Bomber was so important to them. There was a test of sorts to prove that they were not going to at least immediately seek vengeance or immediately continue the shadow war between themselves and Baron Stevens of Gary. If they were successful, no harm, no foul, everything's swept under the rug, the past is the past. If they did not take it, they'd be declaring open war, which means there wouldn't be any reason for her to be as lenient as she had been. If they failed and died in the process, it's still a win-win. No need to expend any effort to destroy an enemy and no need to follow up on vengeance. Somehow in their activities, they found a happy medium. They were both successful and failed because they did not bring the Mad Bomber back. They still haven't returned to Gary yet, being as they are in South Haven, but they are sitting on the very edge. They were successful. They know what happened to him. They could relate that if they chose, or they can pick up stakes and leave Gary as a whole. Those are the easy choices, but of course, there's room for all sorts of permutations of that to happen, or not, as the case may be.
Besides, what's really left on Gary for them anyway? The only ties they had to anybody were really Marcus, and he burned that bridge, so technically, we don't have to go back.
Well, it's a good thing Haley doesn't technically actually live in Gary.
So that still leaves the question of what's going on with Ben's motorcycle repair shop. Does she pop back occasionally and check on it, or is she too busy doing the Boulevard's work?
You know, there's always an opportunity. For both, actually. Right at this moment, she'd probably be considerably more busy. Especially with the expansion of the Boulevard's personal territories, as well as the official claiming of full-on praxis throughout Dalton. With her being the tip of the spear, she is the hound of war, as it were. So, yeah, she's a little busy. The day-to-day management.
Wait. Did he claim praxis? How am I not hearing about that?
Hearing about what? What are you talking about?
Claiming praxis.
Well, you know, it's just a turn of a phrase. It doesn't really mean what it means.
Yeah, okay.
Just shoring up if you look at the map, or I'm not sure when's the last time you actually glanced at the map for the area, but yeah, there are significant signs that he is working on increasing his personally controlled domain within Dalton, so that officially as Boulevard of the South, as the last power of the Senate of Dalton, he can claim true practice throughout the entirety of Thornton Township. But yeah, it hasn't officially happened, but word on the street is
word on the street is he's about to be played for a sucker because fucking Hikata already got their hands on fucking Dalton.
Oh yeah, they've been running ripe. If you look at the map, you'll see that there's literally churches every eighth of a mile to every quarter of a mile throughout the entirety of Thornton Township. There's a reason why they wrap their arms around the idea of religion in the South Suburbs, in this hard-working entrepreneurial area. It goes invisibly everywhere. It has tendrils and phone trees and paths of communication that stretch through every level of the community, from the actual mayor and police chief to the neighborhood watch, to the PTA school monitors, to the principals of certain schools, to the coaches and assistant coaches for the physical departments for those same high schools, to the administration of the local community college and the major trauma center. They have their fingers throughout the entirety of the South Suburbs. And Don Wojcik and the Castiglione and Tories were utilizing their contacts and their network of suppliers and various criminals to bolster those efforts, to take control of that already in place network of control. Too bad some people, put a kibosh on that in the moment. But now due to the actions of certain coteries, there is a power vacuum that must be sealed. I wonder who's poised to capitalize on such an opening.
Are we talking Chicago or Dalton? Because if it's Dalton, then it's probably freaking juiced up.
Yes. So you see how your actions, the coteries' actions in one city affect another area and yet still affect another area. Because part and parcel of the South Suburbs were, they are a shield and the pit trap for the anarchs of Gary and northern Indiana from actually being able to really stage a successful attempt. They are unable to, because of Thornton Township and the various other collar suburbs, to really actually do anything. But if those areas fall, or there's an opening where they can place their tenterhooks, they're that much closer to leaving a black eye on the Camarilla on the national stage. Because Chicago is their gleaming gem, it is their baby, the center and sign of their power and authority. And speaking of Gary, speaking of our coterie of Gary, having rushed through the night, having escaped Walkerton and that which resides there, having been right to the cusp and dancing on the edge of complete, unadulterated madness, resting for the day, dying for the day, in the safe confines of Baron Pompeo. Bringing Warrington, who himself was a anarch power of sorts. Unofficially and officially, he was the Baron of Walkerton, but being in power didn't mean the same thing it would elsewhere. His little network inside the city, his little associations and all of the things that he had there, with him unable to leave, or at least previously unable to leave, didn't really amount to a hill of beans as far as things were concerned. There is a new lease on unlife being presented to him through the manipulations of Haley. There is a world of opportunities in front of not just Warrington, But Haley, who was coming into some semblance of sobriety for the first time in quite a few weeks, there is the very real understanding that there is unfinished business in Gary for Gigi. There is the very real facet that Lasky's business needs tending, that Leonetti's daughter needs watching over, and that Nikki's enterprises need tending. But in the moment, rising from their death, resurrecting for the dead, whatever, with both Gigi and Haley, go ahead and give me a quick roll of their brows. And while that is happening, without any further questions, without any further ado, I'd like to say this is officially Season 5 of Steel Hearts, Rusted Souls. This is the inaugural episode, The 8 Henry's Plan. We will not be having Lasky or Nikki or Leonetti with us tonight, but there is much to do in the dark, and we have Gigi and Haley for those tendings.
I'm sorry, Gigi.
Alright, so being as it's just going to be the three of us coming up, the notable future of this particular episode, this particular play, we're going to go with first come, first serve in regards to what we're dealing with. But to set the stage, all of their efforts in getting free of Walkerton has met a resounding success. They have a former patron saint of the Anarch cause in Walkerton. They are in the safe haven of the Baron of South Haven. They are a stone's throw away from Gary, and the many opportunities and responsibilities that Gary holds for each of them lays just there on the edge of perception. Haley hasn't been sober minded in weeks. The blood that had formerly coursed through her system has dwindled to its normal supernatural levels of resonance. Gigi has not been outside of Gary in years, and the visit to Walkerton only driving home why it's better for the spider to stay at the center of its web than venture into the next tree. And as the others lie unroused and dead, slowly coming to, what is it that Gigi and Haley do? While there's no rumbling of stomachs from Gigi, there is a certain dark feralness creeping into her gaze as her beast lets her know that there's a cost for everything.
She's hurting too, because she, I'm trying to remember where I stuck the tracker at, but she took quite a bit of damage from that whole flying through the air thing. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 aggravated and 1 undamaged. So, what is it to try to heal aggravated?
Being as it is the next night, you may spend 3 points of vitae to heal 1 level. So you need 3 rouse rolls.
Okay, hold on, let me get to that. Oh no. She's at 300 now. Okay, 3. Okay, so we're stuck at 300. I got 2 successful rouse rolls. How many did I need to get rid of that 1?
Okay, so you spent the 3 rouse rolls. You rouse the beast and its strength to heal some of the mortal damage that you collected in the last few nights. Your beast is not allowing you a moment of peace because of it. There is considerable debt that you owe it, to the point where your hunger is dancing right at the edge of tearing free of you. The moment your eyes open to the night, the moment your senses come back to themselves from wherever it is the kindred soul goes during the light of day. And you are in the dark. It smells like all of outside because, well, you guys are friendly, but you're not necessarily friends, Don. So if you all bother to look out in Google Earth, that huge red barn that is to the left of the main house on this particular compound, on this property, is where you all are residing. Where you're stationed, where you're dined for the day, is a area in the middle of that barn structure, surrounded by all manner of corrugated steel blocking out all light. So while Gigi has no problem seeing in the dark due to her ties to that stuff of death, that oblivion, the others are in complete dark. You're able to understand where they pass out for the night, or you're just moving across the space using the sense of touch, making the light turn its own.
Damn, I ain't felt like this in a long time since I was human. Pretty damn rough. I think I need to eat. And she gets up and kind of just dusts off her clothes, which have been through it. It's been rough. I mean, even though they don't sweat or nothing, she's been blown up and probably bled a little bit and slept in the dirt. So she was not looking her normal, pristine, put together self, and that's bothering the shit out of her. And she's brushing her hair, trying to into some semblance of an updo. And she looks around and checks on everybody.
Leonetti has seen better days. Lasky is a hair's breadth from permanently exsanguinating into nothingness. Warrington looks as one would after surviving the horrors of Walkerton and realizing what they had grown accustomed to. Not to mention the very heavy-handed effects of coming down from Haley's less than careful manipulation. Welcome, Nikki. How we doing?
Tired, but I'm living.
And speak of the devil and they shall appear. As you're looking over the rest of the coterie, you find that Nikki is, well, still a brunette. Not quite as buxom as they had been previously, but the definition of muscle is considerably more defined in this message.
So I take it you liking that face and you might want to keep it, or you gonna go back to what we know and love?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's gotta go back. But aren't they like right in the middle of something right now?
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yes, you are. You are in the middle of browsing for the night in the safe haven of Don Pompeo, South Haven. You all are in a barn structure inside of a secluded, sealed-off office space made of corrugated steel and the bare basic accoutrements. There's racks to die for the day on, hammocks as they were. There's a lighting system which isn't on just yet, but all in all, safety is safety. You are free from the monstrousness that is in fact Walkerton. You escape. And the realization of what you all went through slowly filters into your resurrecting mind. You all watched Arthur ash into nothing. You all are aware that Walkerton is, well, place of death, dismemberment, and destruction. You are aware that based on what Warrington has informed you all, as members of the undead community, you all would not normally be able to leave. Yet you did. And based on all of your individual research while you were there, you are aware that there is at least one, potentially a cell of hunters in full operation as well. So a lot of things, their value of varying wealth, sitting there at the edges of your mind as you come into yourself. So sometimes go ahead and roll your rouse roll as well.
Excuse me.
I'll try. How's your nap?
What now?
Haley, her face will light up as she turns her phone on. She will absently poke at Warrington and say, "Hey, I want breakfast, wake up."
There's a brief flicker of something that flashes across his face as he frowns for a second and looks at Haley. Then looks around the darkened space where you all are. And rises to his feet, stretching, dusting off the few bits of debris still clinging to him from your escape. Well, you want breakfast. I understand that many poor folks do eat breakfast for dinner, but we're beyond that, don't you think? Now, I did notice the road signs, and I know that we are not near Chicago, which is, I suppose, a great thing in and of itself, but I also know that we are not in the area either. Or say we get on with the get on and get where y'all need to be so I can have a conversation with Bear and Stevens. That's not on the agenda.
I really don't know what's on the agenda. I'm just hungry. I mean, not like, oh shit, I'm going to flip out hungry, but I could eat a thing.
I'm sure you could, but the question is, and he looks through the darkness towards the enshadowed Gigi. There's a small thing that most people don't pay all that much attention to when being so close to La Sombra. They are the stuff of nightmares. They are the reason why that instinctual fear of the darkness does not stop upon death. And as Gigi's beast doesn't stretch or push against the boundaries that they have holding it in place, it does exercise its less than pleased state by the occlusion of shadows being drawn towards the shadows and the darkness itself responding and moving as if it has a mind of its own. Slow enough that it's easy to convince one that you did not see the shadow just move an inch here or a quarter of an inch there. But those who are aware, it is impossible to not notice. It is impossible to not notice that the amorphous, blobular form of darkness that exists all around you has a deeper hue the closer one gets to Gigi. It is impossible to not notice that while she is calmly looking from face to face, the shadows themselves seem angry.
See, the thing is, I'd love to take you back with Gary, no problem at all. But the thing is, we got to do a little bit of something here first. Lasky's not looking too good, and neither is Leonetti. We got to talk to Don Pompeo and give him the information that we were attempting to give him before, and now we have even more information since we know what happened to the Mad Bomber. That's all things we need to talk about. What you want to do after that, Warrington, is entirely up to you once we get to Gary. But I'd like to point out, how long were you there before we got you out?
Long enough that I can offer you the most valuable thing I have, which is my thanks for your assistance in helping me alleviate all the ties to my funding, my financial means, and my ties that I had built there being trapped. The world may be my oyster, but I am hoping that I am not allergic to shellfish in this particular moment. So while this Dawn you're speaking of may be some powerful muckety muck, I have no idea who he in fact might be.
You ain't never heard of Pompeo?
No, I was secluded in my hermitage for considerably longer than he may have been in power.
And I do agree, you left quite a bit behind, but you did not factor that in when we were talking about planning things. That was not part of the caveat. You asked to be rescued and gotten out of there. We did that. Anyway, tomato. I think we should talk to the Don, and then maybe, just maybe, we can get you connected through your little phone device there, and still have connections with that weird ass town that we just left that I don't even want to mention right now, and get your money or whatever back. But for now, I'd like to get something to eat, just like Haley said, and Dawn would be very accommodating, I would think, if we offer him the information that we found out.
So y'all think that this Dawn may provide a little bit of hospitality and a meal if we are forthcoming with some of the information that has come to our understanding?
He was before, after all. Leonetti works for him, so why wouldn't he trust his own employee?
I hate to say this out loud, but I believe that being honest is about the best way to do as much as we are able. I would not trust Leonetti with your life. That individual seems considerably far more bloodthirsty than I had assumed one to be. Even now, motionless, slumbering, absent of the fact, he seems as if he is liable to spring into action, guns and fangs a-bearing, ending things along his path of escape. And then he points to Lasky. And this one, I cannot attest that there's a semblance or a sense of non-chaos there. They appear as if even, and he crouches leaning closer, looking at the wounds that keeps Lasky slumber. Even now, it looks as if he is actually asleep and dreaming, as if there are too many things circulating within that skull that are dangerous to us all. It might be best to establish some distance between these individuals instead of tying our fates even more succinctly. And he looks to Haley. And you, for all of your vivaciousness, hold a small bit of wiliness and guile that I cannot say would not have a good use for building something of lasting import. The way that you behaved in the presence of Mr. Caldwell, the way that you were able to sway not only the others verbally, but myself mentally. Those are skills that could be used to build something worth having.
I'm not really afraid of trees. I just thought you should know that.
Despite herself and that whole broody shadow thing that's going on, Gigi laughs at that and then swallows it back. Okay. Either way, they're not going to get up anytime soon, and we still need to get some blood into Lasky somehow so that he could survive his wounds. I don't want him turning into mush like Arthur did. Either way, like I said, this is our best bet for getting fed before we get on the road. We got plenty of night in front of us to get back to Gary.
Is this area a lot of food adjacent?
I can't honestly answer that. I have never been here, but based on our travels in that road out there, seems as if it might be a major thoroughfare that we could use to get somewhere that might have all the things that we want in this particular night. Sustenance, a level of peace and understanding to put ourselves together. If I'm not mistaken, on the way in, did we not pass by several churches and a school of sorts on the way here? Was that Highway 6 we were on? I believe that it was, and we made that left onto Highway 49 and made our way through from Meridian. I did see quite a few things that may provide sustenance for ourselves.
You want to go eat at a school? That's a bit sick.
Well, they have faculty. It is not as if the inmates are running the asylum. Unless, of course, things have changed precipitously since my last sojourning amongst the mortals.
It depends how long it's been since you've been out.
Clearly long enough where that may in fact be an option for most. Children teaching children. Now that is a thing that I did not hope to ever have to see. But I suppose it's better than not being taught at all. Let's go find this gentleman you are speaking of, this Dawn, so that we can move on with the rest of our existence. And maybe, just maybe, make it out of this particular location with some semblance of ourselves intact. Now, you all need sustenance, and while I would normally provide such, I am outside of my means. So I believe that it is best that we find this Dawn with all due haste. Because, and he looks back at Lasky. He does not look well. It looks as if his mind, as if he may already be slipping away in emotions towards Leonetti. And I can't attest for their relationship, but it does seem as if this one slips, this one will go as well, leaving only us.
I mean, I don't really know them, or any of you for that matter, but I know that she blew up the tree and let us escape, so she's all right with me.
Looking to Nikki as he's purposefully kept from mentioning the ever-shifting, changing nature that he's noticed in Nikki. You know, when he first met the being that resides there, she had a southern accent as sweet as warmed over honey. She had a certain stereotypical blonde vivaciousness. And all of that's gone by the wayside. all of that has disappeared. She's in fact a slightly less buxom as brunette, her hair dark as night, her accent as hard as several K's in a row of German descent. Her frame and form no less attractive, but there is a hint of danger. There's something about the German accent to stereotypical standards near Southern Americans that makes them wary. And it is clear that Warrington is of such stock, and he is wary.
I'll show you something less dangerous.
Isn't that exactly what the snake might say? Or better yet, isn't that what the scorpion that rode across the turtle's back would say? Oh, I will not sting you lest we both die. And when the turtle and the scorpion were halfway across that river, what might the scorpion actually do but sting and sting away and sting again? With the turtle dying in pain and crying, but why have you stung me? You have killed us both. With the scorpion
It's in my
responding,
nature. Yes, I've heard the story. No, but I assure you, I do not subscribe to that ideology.
I mean, every year, dozens of people are killed by debris falling off an airplane, but you can't live your whole life afraid of airplanes.
but you can. That plane flies overhead, you get yourself inside somewhere secure. One would not want to be spied on by the local government or the non-local governments of the world.
I hate to tell you this, but if you're scared of planes because they might fall out the sky, a house ain't gonna stop a plane.
I dare say somewhere secure. And until I build such a place for myself, I will be, unfortunately, forced to deal with my own fear of certain things, namely being spied upon, looked upon, held against my will in places where I can do my best, but I will not flourish. So this dawn of yours, and he moves towards the door. Shall we be off?
All right, storyteller, are we going to need the car to get to the dawn, or are we within walking distance?
Oh, you guys are within walking distance.
All right, so it'd probably be okay to leave Leonetti and Lasky sleeping for now.
Yeah.
Okay. And off we go then.
No time like the present.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm a big fan of sitting in the dark and doing nothing, but I suppose that we should be productive.
As you all leave the barn, the interior of the barn, make your way out into the night, the fresh country air, instead of it being a bracing thing and making you take that big deep whiff of all of that lovely, beautiful fresh air, it reminds you of just how insidious Walkerton was. Worse for Haley, being in a state of complete and perpetual inebriation, both demented vitae and highly pharmacologically laced blood. The mixture of the two swirling so that all of the insane supernatural happenings of Walkerton seem magnified exponentially. Uppers and downers and sidewaysers do not mix with the presence of an ancient, angry, primordial prairie god. So as you all step out of the barn into all of that lovely, fresh air, small bits of Walkerton seep through. The fact that the churches seem to always move to be the most close thing to you. The cornfields moving of their own will, communicating amongst themselves. And then the church of sacrifice with all of the martyred saints emblazoned upon the windows lit from some strange light of their own creation. The fact that heading down led you out into a grove hidden from view of all things, that space between spaces. Then there was the fact that time seemed so much and so less all at once. You could blink and an hour had passed, or you could sit reading for hours and only 3 or 4 minutes had passed. Walkerton is not the place for faint of heart, and it sticks with you. Luckily, there is strength in numbers, and while everyone releases their unnoticed, held breaths upon stepping outside, Lawrenson frowns and looks up at the sky. You're not sure whether he's taking in the beautiful starlit sky or searching for airplanes, but either way, that small action, that small tip of a hat to powers that lay just beyond view is enough to bring everyone back to the moment. Making it to the main house, the primary residence of Don Pompeo, was a distance of about just under 100 feet. Far enough away to make it an effort, close enough that it is not much of one. The guards milling about, moving cars, and still busily tending the acres of land behind the property. Barely pay you mind. You all got the royal treatment and full hospitality, so you all moving about the property does not raise alarm. However, you all move about the property noticed, watched, not interfered with, but watched. And then there's a little old squat fire plug of a woman who makes her way over, taking off her heavy-duty work gloves. As she nears, you realize that, much like you all, she has not blushed for the evening. There's no semblance of life about her. She does look exactly what she is, a corpse walking across the grounds. Her hat, her sun hat, barely hiding the faint glow of light in her eyes. That animus solera that causes light to reflect and refract the strange colors of red, green, or amber. Hers reflects with a slight hint of blue. And there is no hiding the petite, though razor-sharp fangs poking from beneath her lip as she smiles in your direction. I suppose you all want to see Pomp, huh? Was wondering when you all would get up. Most of us, we rise early, even being dead. You all don't look too good. Where's the rest of them?
I'm afraid one of our lot is too injured to wait at the moment, and we need help with him. And the other...
Oh, sure, we can dispose of him for you. And make sure that he, his ashes and his vitae, what little maybe left, goes to good use.
No. No, we like to keep him just the way it is. We just need to feed him a little blood.
Well, that's all you need. Yeah, Pump's got a couple of donors floating around the farm. I'll round them up for you. You might want to go ahead and make sure you get the okay from Pomp himself. He's in the back room there in the office. Sergio by the door should be able to help you.
All right, then. Thank you so much, and have a good rest of your evening. And she steps around the lady and heads that way.
There is... Haley is a Toreador, correct?
As soon as I get on the right screen to unmute myself, yes, she is.
There is a beauty in pragmatism. Not one that appeals to everyone, but there is definitely a beauty there. And the pragmatic functional, the standard everyday, that allows most toreadors to not be struck deaf, dumb, and blind by the sheer atrocities of how horrible most people's sense of style are. The dirt, the grime, the everyday, it's passable. And then there's a level of it where everything works homogeneously together and forms this beautiful idea. That is not what Haley is greeted with upon entering the main house. It is a jumble of styles, of bric-a-brac collected over years that does not match, does not coordinate, and is immediately offensive because everyone seems to ignore it. From the furniture to the window treatment selections to the carpeting to the very paint color choices on the walls. There are walls that jump between 3 different shades of the same hue. There are carpets from the late 20s with its garish Art Deco stylings to carpeting interlaced with it from 1970s kitsch. So you have that puke lime green and that burnt sienna that just scars the retinas. And amidst this, there are John Deere-esque extras from Central Casting who want to be in either a Goodfellas or Sopranos movie. They're tracksuit bottoms with blazers that are ill-fitting and off the rack. There are men and women dressed as inappropriately as you can be and still be fully covered. You picked the wrong day to stop huffing glue. You picked the wrong day to not obliterate your brain with a few lines of this, that, or the other. You picked the wrong day to stop imbibing cough syrup to get by. This is an effrontery to man, beast, and every semblance of style that has ever been thought of. And none of these people seem to mind or notice.
I mean, first of all, none of those things will stop. She didn't pick the day. But as she enters, she stops short and makes a weird face where her nose scrunches up and everything. She says, "Oh my God, it's like several house flipping shows showed up here and vomited on each other and then got bored and left. This is atrocious. Who would live here?"
Does that make JG look around at all? Because she's never really noticed it, obviously. She does have some style, but it wouldn't be that big of a deal to her, I don't think.
No, it's not. It's the house of clearly a family that's been here for years, maybe generations. You can see from the pictures hidden amongst the bric-a-brac and along the wall that this is the house of a family that has lived here. Despite Don Pompeo owning the residence and operating out of here, the people in the picture show that ruddy, sun-kissed life that comes from working with your hands in the field. And all of the cherished mementos from visits to Hawaii, or Las Vegas, or New York, or that family trip to Europe, it's spread all over the place. And you can tell that, someone put thought into making sure that the paint went in shades and degrees to make certain spaces seem smaller or warmer, and then certain other spaces are lit bright and then blazing with all of the modern, less than functional but clearly cherished items of a family's life. It's just a jumbled mess where people live. A decorator clearly has never been here. This is all This has all been done by hand. This This is all do-it-yourself, DIY. This is all making do and building as you go.
I mean, it's a little eclectic and a little cluttered and maybe a little bit hobbitish, but I mean, it seems like it's somebody's home and it seems like they're very comfortable here, so I don't quite see what you see, but I'll take your word for it.
Eclectic? Really? I've stayed in motels with broken glass in the parking lot that are prettier than this.
Gigi remembers something her grandmother told her a long time ago. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So she very much just makes that face and nods. I suppose.
I mean, I'm sure it's very cozy, and the people that live here are very happy. They might be people who are selling pencils on the sidewalks to people because they can't see, but as long as they're happy, I just don't like it.
It's only as you all engage in conversation, and Gigi looks around, and Haley does her best to not look around. Nikki and Warrington pause, looking towards you two for cues to keep moving or to break out the knives. That you all notice Sergio. He has to be a Sergio. He looks like someone who would be down by a schoolyard with his best friend in his youth. He looks very much like every definition of Sergio you've ever bothered to look up on Wikipedia. He's tall and lanky, with muscles that clearly have not had the benefit of bulk, even though they have the added tensile strength of being doubled and redoubled again. The sort of ungangliness that is all too common in pubescent teenagers, but it usually falls away with baby fat in adults. His skin tanned deeply enough that even dead, you're sure that he's about 5 to 16 years from losing it. His blazer, a dark green, enough that it almost seems as if it may be a faded black. His tie undone, and the bolo variety with a huge turquoise stone sitting in the middle of it. His jeans. You're not sure how it's possible to find dark green jeans, but he clearly has. And he's pressed them so neatly and crisply, you are sure that if you were to take a loaf of bread, that you could cut slices from it on them. And then there's his shoes, or more accurately, his boots, which, well, you've heard of alligator shoes. You've seen them. You've heard of snakeskin boots and shoes. You've seen them. You've never seen the two in one shoe, or more accurately, one boot, with spurs on, no less. But there they are in all of their dark green glory. And then the eyes. Pools of darkness that just fall away into nothingness. And his slick back hair, showing that he uses product, or at least rises early enough to slather it in something to hold it in place. You're sure that his hair is quite bulletproof.
Oh, you must be Sergio. I can tell that you are an individual who prides himself on his individuality.
You must have been talking to Emma, huh? That's fine. Take it that being as you guys are in the house, you want to talk to Pump. He's in the back. Let me go get him. There's a library, and he points down the hall past the stairs. That first door on the left is the library. You want us to go ahead and set up in there. And even though he's doing his best to maintain all composure and semblance, you are sure that there is something deeply troubling him emotionally. There's a slight moistness about the eyes, those pits that go on forever. There's a restrained effort in his voice. And he turns to head in the opposite direction, down the other hall towards the kitchen.
Sergio, are you alright, love? I'm a good listener.
I'm fine. I'm sure you are a good listener, but you're a better talker.
I mean, I'm good at many things. Well, the offer stands. I guess we will adjourn to the library.
As you all move into the library, it is not anything grandiose. They're not the huge leather wing bags with tables sitting between with ashtrays where old men and women smoke cigars or pipes. No, it looks as if this is the library for a family that has a lot of children. There are Dr. Seuss books, there's The Giving Tree, there's the entire series of The Lightning Thief by Riordan. There's several copies of Harry Potter spread throughout. There's even an entire shelf dedicated to Choose Your Own Adventure books, and several others of Which Way to Go books. And most glaringly, what stands out above it all, there is a If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, the entire series spread there on shelves. Nothing as adult as Shakespeare or Poe or any adult author. These are all young adults and less books.
Haley will be very excited about Harry Potter books.
I don't really even know what to say. I mean, Sergio seemed nice, but does he remind you of anybody? Kind of like, what's that movie? My Uncle Vinny. And the Riddler kind of had a baby.
I hope it gets stranger here. I am really here, right? You are there. You are real.
Yeah, I'm here. She pinches herself. See?
You would tell me if you weren't real, right?
No, honey, if I wasn't real, I'd want to know that myself. So I'm pretty sure I'm real.
And speaking of real, much like the devil, it appears Don Pompeo walks through the door. Now he's a classically styled entrepreneur of the streets. His rough upbringing in upstate New York and his time spent in California shows in his style of dress. While his shirt is white enough that it nearly glows how pristine it has been ironed and washed. The nice stiff French collar, his blazer, a rich deep blue matching the slacks of the suit that he's wearing. A sans tie in his skin and his hair looks as if it has been freshly done, massaged, and perfectly moisturized. The wisp of a beard at his jawline, adding a level of ruggedness. His well coiffed hair and immaculately styled ensemble slightly underscore. I thought Leonetti would be with you guys. How you doing? I hate to be the speaker for this.
Fabulous. Have you...
And Warrington looks at you. And, I suppose ladies first.
Have you read this book? She says, holding up a Harry Potter book.
Can't say that I did. I don't do much reading these days. It's not electronic.
You should read this book. It's a wonderful metaphor for our sort of existence, right? They got muggles and they got wizards. I think this book kind of pushes the boundaries of the masquerade, actually.
You know that book, like everything else, is fucking fake, right? That's Sergio, my designer's doing. He picked all this to make it look like a house, like a family's been living here, just in case we get rousted during the day.
I'm sorry, Sergio is your designer. You're not paying him, are you?
Of course I'm fucking paying him. You pay everybody. What are you trying to say? Were you not convinced? Did you not believe that this is a family house instead of the hub of a criminal enterprise?
I mean, I suppose it could be a family's house. It's not very warm and inviting.
Huh.
Maybe just a little bit too many voices going on in here, but other than that, fine, I guess. As for what's going on with Leonetti, he got a little roughed up last time, and also we're down Lasky because he's a little injured. We were hoping. Also, quite a few of us are a little bit hungry. We were hoping we could stay for a little bit of something to eat and give you a little bit of information before we head back to Gary this evening.
That ain't necessarily a good thing. Leonetti's a tough guy and can take more than his fair share of damage. So the fact that he laid low, makes me worry about what it is that you all were doing. How I didn't hear anything with your efforts down there near Ainsworth.
Oh, well, actually, we ended up in Walkerton, which is a bit of a weird-ass Children of the Corn sort of place.
Wait, how do you get from Ainsworth to Walkerton? That's two different ends of the fucking state.
Well, the thing is, we have a... She whispers, Malkavian and our coterie, and he was insisting that we go to Walkerton. And it was a good thing in a way that we did, because we found out what happened to the person we were looking for. But at the same time, we was almost trapped there. And that wasn't fun. And then we found out one of our own was a betrayer. Lovely, lovely fucking vacation.
So you all went on a vacation. Okay. So...
No, I was being sarcastic.
It's giving me a fucking headache. So you were supposed to go to Ainsworth to find out and deal with your mad bomber who was going to bring back proof that that Baron Stevens has been working against the Anarch movement for this whole time. Instead of going to Ainsworth, you go to the opposite end of the state, to Walkington, that little one-horse piece of shit nothing. It's not even flyover country. Planes avoid the space because it's just a black hole of suck. It is the idea of what Indiana is actually like, and that is offensive to me. But yet it's there. It's a no-horse town that was formerly a one-horse town working on being something. It's not even a village. It's a speed hump.
I can assure you that there's a lot going on in Walkerton. And we did find out the fate of poor Arthur.
How
So
do you
there's
find? Yeah, what are you saying?
there's like a whole cult there that worship this like evil tree, and then this one blowed it up so that we could all escape. This one knows all about it. He lived there for a long time.
You look almost familiar. What are you doing? Well,
What am I doing right now? I'm talking to you.
not you. This Jamoke. Yeah, I didn't know that you, sir, were this pump that they're speaking of. I offer my respect, as it were. And yeah, I was trapped in Walkerton, and it is a place that no one really ever wants to go. I can assure you that Caldwell, much like these individuals, happened there by fate's maliciously playful hands, much like myself. Unlike myself, they had not been stuck there for nearly 5 decades and managed to free me and your associate, I believe that's Leonetti. So I can't espouse or promise you that what you believe about Stevens is what you believe about Stevens. We were able to get word from the outside without being able to affect the outside, if you know what I mean. And Caldwell, in his small, less than completely inebriated states, did inform me of certain things that were taking place with the anarch movement as a whole. I understand that Juggler is no longer in the picture, and neither is Modius, and this Baron Stevens is in fact Baron of all of Gary. But I seem to have talked round and round without ever coming to the point. As someone who is now experiencing their first few nights of freedom, their first night of freedom from Walkerton, I would be remiss if I did not offer what I could, and that is, I believe that the right true Baron of Gary is in fact Baron Stevens. And as far as her working against or counter to the anarch cause, based on Caldwell, that is not in fact what she was doing or has done. She has plans and a backer, a financial supporter, an angel investor that is willing to support her claim of leadership of Gary. Caldwell, between partying, brought information that I'd gladly offer to you if I was able to perhaps find a place in your organization that would best assist myself return to a semblance of polite society.
It does seem he could use a competent decorator.
Palm frowns. So let me get this straight. Caldwell came to you. Why did Caldwell come to you? He could have came to me. Arthur was a lot of things, and a real big party is one of them, but I never really thought he had it all together. And he points to his head, using his finger against his temple. Like all of them, I think he's a little bit back of beyond, you know what I mean? Well, that he may be, but I assure you, I have every reason to believe the information that he imparted to me is in fact accurate, including that the backer that is supporting Stevens through this most recent spate of turmoil is a former Camarilla prince.
So is he former prince and Camarilla, or just former prince?
I assure you that the information provided points to the fact that this individual was a former Camarilla prince. In fact, one of the larger, most powerful at his time of operation princes of the Camarilla. I don't have a reason to doubt that Caldwell, in his few lucid moments, was sharing privileged information with his host, which is what I played in Walkerton.
So the question I'm asking is, yes, this person may be a former friend, but are they still Camarilla?
That there is a good question. So Stevens is in fact working in cahoots with a Camarilla prince to support and prop herself up to eventually turn Gary into a Camarilla city. Is that what I am hearing? Because that does seem to lend credence that she is working counter to the Anarch cause. Sir, no. That is not exactly anything that is close to what's happening. Perhaps we should talk terms before further questioning is answered. Terms, huh? So, you all with this Jamoke? You all believe that he has merit, he has value?
Well, I can't directly vouch for what information he may or may not have. I know that Arthur was at his place of business, and I have seen his place of business and the type of thing that goes on at his place of business. So I would highly agree with the fact that Arthur might have spilled his metaphorical guts to this man. He can be very persuasive. You almost pulled me in myself.
I didn't get the opportunity to express how impressed I was by your ability to not be swayed by our local charms. I must admit that you all managed to outfleece the fleece, as it were, to outgraft the grifter, to outcon a confidence and confidential source. Yeah. Enough of that patting each other on the back. So she's working with a former prince who is helping her maintain her power. Her power as Baron of the entirety of Gary. That shithole, that hub of scum and villainy. To what end? As I said, sir, I believe that we should probably talk terms right about now before going much further. I have offered freely information that you could use even now, if you so chose, to better your own standing in this coming regime change. A unified Anarch center in Gary, instead of the hundreds of different kings and leaders and would-be bullet boys that float in and around Gary. Imagine that, now this is just me assuming based on the information I've been provided, that there was a collected push to oust every little bit of the Camarilla from Gary, to utilize its place as the asshole end of Indiana, to pull in all free-thinking, freestanding kindred and form up, as it were, instead of being a disjointed mass of space, co-ruled by the Camarilla, a united front that acts as a hub of the Anarch Nation, spitting distance from Chicago, able to interact with, send shock troopers if that need be into the city itself, close enough to affect without being affected. And of course, well, the south suburbs was right there. Chicago's shield wall, affected and pulled into the Anarch cause, using the Anarchs of Riverdale and Dixmoor, Robbins and Midlothian, hell, Markham and Flossmoor, pulled into a united Anarch nation, setting up its capital city a stone's throw from the Camarilla's very own crown jewel.
You know, while the two of you sit at the table and hash out the legalese, perhaps the rest of us could enjoy some coffee and biscuits.
That ain't too bad. Emma normally handles such things, but give me a second. He stands up and opens the door. Hey, yo, Sergio, do me a favor. Get Emma to bring a couple of donuts to the back bedroom, and enough for four of our guests. Get them all set up and knock on the door when they get there, okay? He closes the door and steps back in and sits down. So, what I'm hearing is that there's an opportunity to get in on the ground floor for an actual offensive directed at Chicago. Something supported by their very real negligence. Because, Jackson being a well-to-do and a new thinking sort of prince has not put his boot down on Gary's neck. Because Jackson and his hounds are so busy putting out little bits of nothing that they're not paying attention to what's going on right here, huh? And there's room to get in on the ground floor of whatever this is that Stevens is planning. Is that what I'm hearing? You all hearing the same thing?
It sounds a little like she might be setting up for something bigger, but then at the same time, why would she paint a target on her own back after just getting control of Gary? Chicago might be a little weaker than it normally used to be, but I wouldn't still go swinging a stick at the hornet's nest.
Maybe it's because she's certain that she'll win.
I mean, no offense, but all I really hear in the back of my mind is, Haley, they keep going blah, 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 and we are not eating anything.
You a little antsy, huh?
I mean, it's not so much that I'm antsy. I don't need to eat. I'm just a little peckish, but I don't know any of these people you're talking about. So it's just it's like watching a television show when you're on season 3, episode 4, and you don't know who the fuck anyone is or what's going on.
I ain't got no idea what you mean. I stick to watching Law and Order. It's a show that just stays on forever. I think I'm in season 3 myself. It's funny that you mentioned that. It's a good show. It's gonna be on forever. I see episodes of it on all the time. So I'm not quite grasping what it is you're saying. What I'm hearing, what I heard, was there's a move being made. Could have a lot of upswing. You all have been successful at providing me with this opportunity, and to express my thanks, I'm going to provide some donors for you so you can have your satiation, as it were. I'm asking your opinion based on what you heard, not even knowing the players. I'm not sure how you don't know the players. Darren Stevens, Juggler, Modius, but not even knowing the players, what is it that you heard from this little gobbledygook that turned into white noise for you?
I mean, it sounds like somebody's got plans to do things in Gary, but it's not necessarily the person who is able to do things with plans in Gary.
I'm tempted. Yeah. Speak of the devil. That's your snacks. Who's going first? Unless, of course, you guys all want to go together. I don't know how close your group is. Do you guys enjoy doing that sort of thing together? I don't mind. But some people get a little squeamish about, sinking fangs in front of others.
I mean, I don't care. They're just fangs. We've all got them.
That's what I was saying just the other day. This Jamoke from the Stickling on the Tories, we were trying to smooth things over because they're setting up a little base now that the depot don't exist anymore. And this Jamoke turns all squeamish instead of breaking bread like we should. But anyway, enough of that. Down the hall, Sergio will point you the way. Finish what you need to do, then come back so we can get this going and you guys get going on your way. Okay?
That sounds wonderful.
Gigi, no, she's pretty hungry, but she's willing to motion and let Haley and Nikki go first because she kind of wants to talk to Pompeo on her own anyway.
I think Nikki is at Hunger 1, if I'm not mistaken.
Did Warrington ED or no?
He hadn't mentioned it, but he has the idea of eat when you can. And he doesn't mind ending a person. He's not squeamish at all. He's been kindred long enough that those petty simpering concerns don't factor in for him. And he would gladly take up the hospitality of another kindred. After all, not every day you get hospitality. It's not every day where donors are provided, where you don't have to hunt yourself. It's not every day when this happens, so why wouldn't you take it up now?
I do have a quick question before I go indulge in your hors d'oeuvres. Would you be terribly offended if I was to alter one in a non-permanently damaging sort of way?
As long as you don't break it permanently, I don't get through shits.
All right, I like that. Thank you very much.
Well, seeing as how Nikki doesn't seem to get up or be in a hurry to get up, Gigi will nod and follow Haley out because she wants to take care of this whole hunger thing and then come back.
I'm quite fine at the moment. If I take any more blood, I'd have to end someone's life. Enjoy yourselves. I'll be here.
And as everyone leaves the room, leaving Nikki along with Pomp, he sits crossing one leg over the other and begins thrumming his finger against the arm of the chair that he's sitting in. His left massaging his chin and his eyes just absently moving across the room. So, you engineered having a quiet moment. Is there a reason you need to talk?
I have no reason to talk. I only have concerns and questions.
What are your concerns? You know your peoples there. So
No, my concern is with Steven's plan. Who's to say this Camarilla backup won't betray the moment that they have power?
Yeah, you know that's like asking why is the sky blue? It's not, but it is. It's like asking why the rainbows only pop up after the rain. You wouldn't have a rainbow without the rain. But it's like asking why a snake slithers, because it got no fucking legs and arms. It has to slither.
Well, no, I just heard an entire speech about the story about the scorpion and the fox, and I'm thinking maybe that might apply to this situation.
Of course it does. We're fucking kindred. You think that if there was $50 of profit that I can get by offering your head to somebody, that I wouldn't take that $50? Business is business, and we all gotta take care of the number one in our existence. And for all of us, you, me, everybody else, that number one is yourself, because you have the potential for immortality. You have the potential to live forever. But if you're not the lead dog, the view never changes. And the only way to get rid of the lead dog is to, well, dog eat dog. Well, that's not that real quote, but you get what I mean. The only way to change where you sit is oftentimes, which is all the time, by getting rid of those that sit above you. Don't think that I'm not aware that this conversation between us is not privileged. That if it profits you all 3 red fucking cent, that you're not going to run off your mouth with Stevens. Don't think that to save your own hide that I am not aware that you would just offer everything that we've discussed thus far to the first bidder, or the person that's going to let you leave with your head still attached to your shoulders. Betrayal is the name of the game. As long as you never forget that, you'll never be betrayed. Because if you treat everybody like an enemy, that means that there's no opportunity for betrayal. Because your enemies can't betray you. Only people you like get close. Only your friends. Only your family. That's the reason why the smart ones don't have any of those things.
Friends is a very rare luxury in our world. I am quite aware of this.
It's a weakness. It's not a luxury. It's a surefire way to make sure that betrayal happens a lot sooner. It's always the quiet ones. And I don't mean quiet because they're not talking. I mean quiet when you have a moment of success. When you do something exceptional. It's always the ones that got something. Oh, that was great, but you should have considered this. The quiet ones. When you're laughing, look for the one who's not. When you're crying, look for the one who's not offering condolences. When you're hungry, look for the one who's not offering food. When you're angry, look for the one who's not helping you bash in some fucker's face. It's always the quiet ones. It's always the ones you let in your circle that betray you. Everything else is just business as usual. But that's your idea. That's your question. That's what's working at your thoughts. But what else is there? I noticed how everybody kept looking at you as you remained that quiet. So what are you, the leader of the group? The brain? Trust?
I highly doubt that. I'm the one who just provides an alternative point of view.
Thought that's what your guy farmer was about.
I'm not I'm not a Malkavian.
Oh no, not your Lasky kid. That's the Malkavian. I thought that's what farmer was about. Him and his contacts with the Tremere of the area.
Well, we all bring certain points of view to the table. Mine just comes from past experience, shall we say. She looks around and see if anybody else is in. That was I forgot the dude's name. The dude who just came with us.
Warrington.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Warrington was concerned because of my accent, denoting where I come from. And hopefully you would know by now that I'm very much German.
Yeah, a lot of you Germans got tamed because you all were so fucking monstrous during your time as a war of power. It appealed to certain people wanting to kill you. They killed you. They gave you everything, and lo and behold, here you guys are. A lot of you. It's amazing how many of you that actually were.
There would be a good explanation for that, and I would regale it to you someday, but it would take too long now. Let's just say, when I was embraced was during the last war. And we'll leave it at that. You can draw your own conclusions. But have you know that no, I did not follow the ideology. As a matter of fact, I find it abhorrent. You see, because if during those times I couldn't live the way I wanted to live without facing death, they were very strict on who could and could not be part of the club, so to say. And I would not fall into that category regardless of my blue eyes and blonde hair.
So, because you hate different than them, they wouldn't let you hate with them?
No, because I wanted to live different. I tell you a little, no. That's too much personal information. Let's just say my lifestyle didn't fall into their ideology. I was quite different.
Well, not for nothing, but you know, as far as things go, you are in a relative safe space. I don't know you specifically from Adam, so nothing you tell me really matters so much, save your opinion on what it is that you and your associates have brought me this evening.
Which we've given you.
There's always more. And speaking of always more, as you all enter into the back room, Haley keeping her gorge from rising with all of the eclecticism on display. Understanding that it was a purposefully chosen aesthetic does not minimize the assault on your sense of good taste. It is, even knowing that it's supposed to be umami, the sour, the sweet, the crunchy, the greasy, the hot, all of that conspires against your palate, as all you really wanted was just a nice, tastefully, artisanally cut, truffle oiled, fried sweet potato. And instead, you have a dish that is loaded as if it was a Bloody Mary on Super Bowl Sunday. You've got wings and pizza and olives as big as someone's fist, and you've got bits of celery, the full stalk, and you've got, after it's all said and done, no potato. Making it into the room with the donors, you all find yourself face to face with the physical effects of the human trafficking ring that formerly operated at the depot in Gary Prime, back before it was shut down due to the actions of some mysterious coterie. Back when the Castiglione Tories worked with the Ocampo family, and it was a center of free, expressive criminality. Their products weren't known for being the top of the line. It wasn't the top of the line donors. You weren't having sommelier tested and crafted residences, but you were getting enough donors that you could drink your fill and not have to worry about completely breaking the budget. So the individuals gathered here in the room are from that same farm system. They are the discarded. They are the unloved. They are the easily forgotten. And Warrington, just like every Southern gentleman given the opportunity, falls back on, well, I hate to seem stereotypical, but as the saying goes, ladies first. Unless, of course, you all not feeling up to it, then I will help myself.
I mean, if you find a lady, perhaps she could go first. I'll take that one over there. Help yourself.
No, Haley is a partier. She's been in many situations where sharing donors and comparing highs is a matter of good taste and good decorum. So she's not fazed or flustered by the idea of feeding or satiating a need in front of anyone. There is a measure of exhibitionism that trickles down Genevieve's spine. Watching Warrington set fang to flesh and Haley do much the same, she has never fed in the room with anyone else. She's never watched as another set fang and shared that most intimate of moments in front of anyone else.
It's definitely a little off-putting at first and a little bit nerve-wracking for her. Again, being, even though Haley said, find a lady, they can go first, she still very much considers herself a Southern belle, so this sort of thing is a little bit untoward for her. And she's also a little bit picky as to what sort of person she drinks from. Do either of them look like they could have been former military or law enforcement or anything like that?
That's the problem with living long lives. There's an unstereotypical aspect to them. They could have been your waiter, they could have been your cop, they could have been... Their pasts are anyone's guess without the conversation to find out.
Well, then whoever, out of the ones that are left, she is going to conversate or ask. I kind of like to get to know the person I am dining from before I do so. If you don't mind, I'd ask you guys a little bit of a question. And she smiles as prettily as she can, looking like she does, even though she knows she is not her 100% best at the moment.
There is a story that begins with a poor decision made in 1973 that has led this person across many roads, many jobs, many other poor decisions made along the way to this moment. They have survived being fed upon, they understand what the kiss is. And for them, they call it the glow that comes. They know that there are certain people out there with the ability to do all sorts of things who are colder to the touch, but not in that clammy sort of way. They've seen enough dead bodies. They know dead is dead. And what these people are, what you are, is not that. You are able to bestow the glow if you but sink fang. And they're sure that this moment was supposed to be their last, because they have been down this road often enough where they are sure that they have entered into a full-fledged addiction to the glow. They won't fight it off. They won't stop. They won't scream for their life. They won't do any of the usual that happens when someone fades with the glow. And here you are offering them a reprieve. That's what they consider the conversation. Here's what they understand of this moment. And it's not ever something that happens. And it's not and so you hear how the mistake, how the loss of life, and the opportunities, and all the bad decisions made, and all the jobs held has led them here. Has brought them almost full circle to that bad decision that they made all those years ago, turning a blind eye, letting the monsters win. But they didn't have a choice then. They've had choices since, and they've always chosen to let the monsters win. Because it's the only thing that makes sense. The only thing that adds up. Monsters are going to be the monsters. And now you're throwing all of that to the wayside. You're a monster. You're able to provide the glow, and you're willing to deny them the glow. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with them? Why don't they meet your very on the floor level of requirement? What is wrong with them that you find them worthy of enduring the pain of continued existence? What's wrong with them that after all these years of giving every ounce as they could, they're being interviewed to simply be told no? And while that conversation is happening, Miss Gigi tries to find a way to not be bothered by that, to not be weighed down by that, to focus on there's an opportunity to feed and satiate the beast that's crawling around her skull. She catches out of the sight, out of the corner of her eye, Haley, and the donut that Haley is taking a little bit from to get going, is offering them some powdery substance. A little bit of nothing. It barely fit on the head of a pencil, or the eraser of a pencil, the little bit of powder that they're offering. But it is interesting for that little bit of nothing. Barely a quarter of a dime's worth of powder being diced down. They're using the card and the Haley's sterling silver straw. You've seen those reusable straws that people carry in those little pouches quite often, especially at Lasky's coffee shop. It being cut down the way that it is barely a finger's length. It's not a Coke spoon, but it definitely is a Coke straw, one that she already has on her person. But that powder is not enough that you've seen. You've seen how much Coke and heroin that people need to get going, to keep their high up. That is so little of it. And there's not any hint of yellowishness to it. No B12 added, no B2 stirred in. It hasn't been cooked, so it's not crack, it's not heroin. And it's just dark enough that you know that it's not in fact cocaine. What it is, you're not entirely sure, but you're aware that it's happening.
She is going to file that away for later, because Gigi likes to know things, obviously. And taking note of that, she kind of glances towards Warrington, just real quick, like, and I'm taking it since this guy told her his life story. The other one seems more a better pick for her, or is that's it? They're like, that's the choice.
anytime there's a choice, but you can also share it with either Warrington or Haley. Because as you look towards the gentleman who's asking you why isn't he worthy? Why are you doing this? And this was supposed to be his last glow, the way out. And you look towards Haley and her donor, and the donor is, oh God, yeah. And Warrington's donor and he are engaging in, well, it would be a sexual or sensual act if Warrington was alive, but it's the mimicking of it more so than anything. It's the rudder, the feeling, and the passions being stirred, and you're sure that his donor will leave thinking that they have had the best, greatest sexual awakening of their very young, unwanted, unneeded life.
If Gigi could get any paler, she would have paled looking in that direction. And she just closes her eyes and kind of face palms and then puts her hand over the man that she, I guess, upset's mouth and just kind of, shh, okay, I'm sorry. Just calm down for me, okay? And just that she has to, and her beast will not let her do anything but. She goes for the wrist and puts it to her mouth and bites into it.
There's a moment of elation when your fangs break your donor's skin. There's a moment that puts every kindred at their most vulnerable as the kiss is transferred between them, their donor, and back. There's a electric current that runs through them, connecting them to that moment, that lovely moment of first contact. The feeling of that person's life washing over you, that feeling in the weight of their soul, of what they've experienced, the feeling and resonance of all that they are, and the real touchable aspect that you could drink it completely and totally down. You could drain all that they have been, all that they would be, and all that they thought they might become. And the soul of them dances right across your tongue and slips down your gullet, filling you with the warmth of their life. And speaking of filling you with the woman of that life, ignoring Warrington, not because you care, but more so that you're focused on ensuring that your donor has enough time for that glorious concoction to do what it does best. The eyes go wide, the pupils dilate, the nostrils flare, their skin is suddenly flushed, and you can hear their heart picking up in speed as the endorphins flood them completely. And watching it happen, Haley, is like watching your favorite meal being prepared by a master chef. Every motion, every action concise, every step moving towards the eventual delicious moment of sampling what is being prepared. As you watch all the autonomic responses, what is Haley doing?
Well, having a bit of experience in this sort of thing, she will wait till that rush starts to hit the victim there, and that's when her fangs will go in. Because that's the best time.
In the slurred conversation starts, you know that the high is descending like a mountain falling on someone's head. and descending like the mother of all avalanches, because that's what that moment is. Right at that succinct moment when it is at its apex and it's hitting full force, and your fangs break the skin, and all of that lovely transferred energy is magnified and multiplied as the patchwork quilt of their life comes flooding through, supercharged as if it has Nox behind it. And the soft rutting noises from Warrington and his donor, and the exhalation of breath as Gigi's donor exhales and gives themselves wholly to the kiss is nothing. All of that falls away to white noise you can't hear or see. All that matters is this moment, and as your own undead heart beats just enough to skip the odd beat, ratchets up its pace, and your vitae begins to move as if it is in fact blood through your system, hurriedly from one organ to the next, as all of that chemically induced, hyper attenuated joy bombards you. You know, a bad high, a bad trip is only magnified if you fight it. You know that it is always better to turn into the skid and let what will happen happen. Because if you try to resist, you only magnify the intensity of it and the duration. And feeling it coming on, that heightened, attenuated sense of now, combined with all of that past that comes flooding over your tongue, is destined and determined, as always, to give you too much of a good thing all at once. But instead of fighting it, you ride that wave. You surf along its edge, knowing that the crash will come and that you'll need a downer, someone who's imbibed enough to keep them slow and low. But for right now, you're on top of the world.
Well, that sounds perfect. And it hasn't occurred to her how vulnerable that makes her among strangers.
Now, here's the question. As each of you sink Fang and have your way with your donors, the question is, do you all control your compunction enough to stop? Do you even try to?
Well, Haley was only a hunger too. This was less about being hungry and more about the fix.
Gigi is going to try to get herself back down to 1. She doesn't want to kill this person. Obviously, even though they really, really want to die, this is not something she wants on her conscience. She don't want no parts of that. It was bad enough having to do this in the first place and not getting her preference in meals, so she is just going to get herself back down to one hunger from 3.
Okay, that being the case, would everyone be so kind as to go ahead and roll your resolve and composure DC 2.
Am I counting the hunger at 1, or am I counting the hunger before the roll?
The hunger you're on. Haley frees herself from the allure to ride the wave right to its final end, him crashing down on the coral just beneath the surface, to follow that ride towards its eventuality. It's not a matter of if, but when a donor of yours expires in the midst just because of the stress on the body from the combined pleasures of the drug of choice and the combined pleasures of the kiss conspiring together to make them come and go all in one breath. But Haley has enough wherewithal to constrain her pleasure just enough to slip free as the donor the high of highs. It is literally as if you took a spaceship and rode it during takeoff, burning through the atmosphere to your highest point. And just as you are at your highest point, someone has secreted a personal rocket upon your person, launching you even further, faster, redoubling the speed and the effects of gravity upon the body, pushing you beyond every idea of what your maximum could be, opening up the world and all of its myriad of possibilities in one terrifying bandage tape shearing moment. His pupils are literally dilated so much that you are afraid they will never contract again. The pleasure is that intense that the blood vessels in his eyes refuse to burst but refuse to release the engorged blood therein. The rigidity in his muscles having consumed him as he is at that point of orgiastic release without ever getting there, staying right at that priapistic moment of release ad nauseum. He will be trapped there forever, or at least it will feel that way, at the best feeling moment of his existence, with nowhere to go but down. And instead of riding along for all of that, Haley pulls herself free and looks towards Gigi as you've seen death. Hell, you've caused death. But watching it happen for another is an interesting moment for you. Because you've been there for the cleanup, having to get rid of the bodies or what have you afterwards. The friend of the moment that you met, the kindred you've met that shared your proclivities towards a certain donor type, and you all alight back to a hotel suite, and you enter your room, they enter theirs. The couch is used for all manner of secretions and sharing of such secretions, and then you exit your room. You find them hurriedly wrapping their donor in a sheet, and you, out of the kindness of your own heart and the fact that you were seen exiting the elevator with them, make sure that there's no body to be found. It's different when watching it happen. The kiss is called that for a reason. The kiss is the most pleasurable moment of every donor's life. Many of them getting addicted to the point where that is all their life will ever be. But this one, his eyes nearly rolled back in his head, his arm extended, and pushing his arm into Gigi. Instead of pulling away, instead of clinging to the idea of life, he's clinging and seeking that moment of release, and it is clear that it is upon both of them as the scent of arterial blood mixes with the spray and spume of venal blood. It is that deep, rich, thick syrup of life that is flowing in the air. Even if Gigi removes her fangs, she's nicked the artery there in the forearm. Even if Gigi licks the wound closed, he will expire of internal bleeding. Even if Gigi cared enough to not empty him like a Capri Sun, his life was over before this moment began. This was the culmination of a lifetime of poor decisions leading to his natural occurring outcome. And both he and Gigi could care less. Because there it is, dancing on her tongue, the 2 years of failed police academy training, and the volunteer fire department training, the years of service to the public at large. All of those years wasted because of one decision. You remember what it was like that Friday. It was cooler than usual that August when he went to that house. And the lack of sound doesn't stop the unnerving feeling that crawls along your skin as you share that moment, that decision. And you stare into the eyes of the woman across the room who speaks to your soul and sends you leaving the space so that she might end that entire family. It's only as you're getting in the car that you realize you didn't want to leave. It's only as you're getting in the car that you realize you left that place an hour ago and are just now realizing it. It's only as you're getting in the car that you realize that you left that place, drove across town, had a bite to eat, washed it down with your favorite black coffee, flirted with your favorite waitress, and you were unaware of any of it. It's only as you're getting in the car that you realize that even if you wanted to stop it, even if you wanted to change things, that was an hour ago, and your dispatcher has been calling you this whole time. One decision, and the entirety of your life has changed. And now it's finally over. As the manual slips into nothingness beneath your grip, as the exhalation escaping him is simply the gases escaping his lungs and not a exhalation of finally being done with this world, Gigi realizes what has occurred. The voice of her beast no longer playing havoc at the back of her mind. The shadows no longer bending themselves to her will absently. The warmth of Emmanuel already beginning to fade.
She looks a little bit drunk and kind of puts the back of her hand against her mouth, realizing what this means, and looks at Haley, not quite panicked, but in a, oh, fuck, that's not good sort of situation. I didn't, oh, shit. He wanted to die and I didn't want to kill him, but now he's dead. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, because Pompeo said not to break toys, and I think that's broken. That's pretty broken. Oh, shit.
Haley kind of shakes her head a couple times, trying to shake off some of the fugue state that she's in now, and looks at the situation that she was aware of, but, you know, she's kind of in a different mindset at the moment, so yeah, you shouldn't have broken it. I can go get someone, maybe. It doesn't look like there's still time to like maybe fix it.
No, he's gone. Gold. He said he wanted her gone. And I gave him what he wanted without meaning to. This must mean what the fuck they're talking about when they say I'm a monster all fucking time.
The same monster that took an hour of your life. That hour that made a difference. That's the reason why the entire block was set aflame. Remember her face? Those honey brown eyes, those lips full with promise of nothing but pleasure. That soft skin that looks as if it had never been touched by the harmful rays of the sun, pale enough that it held a small glow. You knew you shouldn't have gone into that back room. The call for transportation was for the building, but why did you enter?
She's kind of like shaking her head, hearing him in her head, and it's. I'll go get Sergio, and then she like smoothing her jacket repetitively, almost OCD, like walks to the door and like steps out.
Oh no, don't get Sergio. I can't deal with all that right now. The spurs and the vest is, oh no, just maybe the woman with the gloves.
Well, hell, y'all looking for Emma? I suppose I can go find her. And this is punctuated by the closing of a zipper, the tucking of a shirt, and the soft, overly male giggle of his donor lying on the couch that they recently shared. As he tries to catch his breath and tries to come down from the emotional high of being awakened to things he didn't believe were possible. Warrington having a self-satisfied smirk, as if he's mentally patting himself on the back, like, yeah, still got it. Yet, he doesn't seem plussed or fazed by the death slowly permeating through the room. Because while the moment of exsanguination was a beautiful one for the donor, and shared in that beauty by Gigi, there are natural or different results from the ending of a life. And now those scents are beginning to slowly build in the room. It won't be long before even the addled humans will begin to notice the difference in the air, how something seems a little different.
Out of curiosity, did the donor have anything that seemed of importance to them?
Yeah, in their top pocket. You're not sure how you know it because you didn't go through their things. You never reached into their pockets. You did your best to barely touch them. But you know, in their inside breast top pocket, there is a little folded, overly touched and worn piece of ribbon. It's the ribbon from the eldest daughter that was there at that fire, at that home. It's one of the few things that when you faced the horror that you had been part of and raced back to the scene, find it ablaze, that you found in the wreck and ruin therein. And you've carried it with you all these years since. For a while you had it tied around your own wrist, and then as bits and pieces of it frayed away, you tied it around your finger. And as bits more frayed away from the dirt and grime of a life spent moving to and fro, You started keeping it inside your pocket. First, you kept it in the little watch pocket of your jeans. And when that frayed too much and you nearly lost it somewhere between Albuquerque and New Mesa, you began keeping it in your inside pocket. Remember the time that you were crossing the 7-mile bridge down in Florida and you thought of just leaping over the railing? And if not for that biker being an asshole and you chasing him for about a quarter of a mile, you would have. But hate and anger kept you here. You know that eventually you'd succumb, eventually you'd pay your dues, but you wanted to do something meaningful, something worth it in between. Just never found the chance, just never had the opportunity.
She kind of can't help herself with this one, seeing as how that she's the one that took his life, and despite the fact of not having wanted to do so, her hand goes for the ribbon in the pocket and she pulls it into her hand and binds his spirit to the ribbon, making it, I guess it's already a fetter, so she's going to claim that fetter as hers.
Haley, what's your occult?
Just one.
Oh my goodness. And what's your allspecs?
That is 2.
Oh. All right. So there's a fireworks show in most cities in and around the 4th of July. In Chicago, the biggest, one of the better ones, is actually at Navy Pier. They launch their fireworks from out in the lake on a boat, and it literally lights up the night sky. And there's music being broadcast in time to the fireworks. And the first couple of times when you see it from the pier itself, it is the most magical thing ever. The noise, the sound, the feeling amongst the crowd that just washes over everything. It is awesome the first couple of times. That's the magic. Until you realize how large the fireworks packages that they use are. Do you realize the damage that it causes even to the prepared ships that they use to launch these from, and how close the men and women that launch these spectacles come to death every year? You realize how and where the actual magic is, the bravery that's put on display, just getting these things arranged, not even the show itself, but just the efforts and the fear that these people face down. The combination of those two moments of realization is what hits Haley as high as the sky and twice as fantastical as she feels in this moment, sorting through all the rampant raced thoughts that are coming, all the things that she could do, all the things that she could experience, all of the joys and pleasures she's found so far, and finding which was better, putting a assuming list in her head of these moments that are slowly coming back to her, because only when she's high does she realize exactly everything that she's experienced. Like that little redhead from the Last Chance Saloon, the one that was so vivacious, that had the connect to the local drug dealer and then there's the guy who's in one second, let me give you the actual place so you can look it up later. Then there was the guy in East Chicago, the guy who could turn into a fucking pig that is able to drink his ass off and has a whole vat dedicated to Irish whiskey. Then there's the fact that when you were years ago, when you first left your sire, months ago, when you first left your sire, were kicked out, you met those punks from North Milwaukee Avenue, and they took you back to this punk mafioso Genghis's place, and You all partied until the sun came up, and they all but died with you. And the moments you shared, and all those things are happening at once underneath the surface. And then the fireworks. She's never been able to see ghosts. Not really. She can feel their presences. She knows what certain things feel like and the hints of them that have wafted across her presence. But seeing the fireworks of a whole being torn in reality, seeing the bright, darkly shining essences of former living individuals, feeling the coolness in the air as this world and that from beyond the shroud exist in the same place at the same time. It's gotta be the drugs. Definitely the drugs. Pink elephants don't exist.
She will scramble, pushing herself backwards from the floor, staying on the floor, not standing up or anything. Be like, no, that's not real. I don't see that. No, stop.
Gigi looks at Haley, and her formerly kind of brownish honey colored eyes are now solid black. And she kind of gives her a look, but head tilts as she's focused entirely on the ribbon. I don't know what's going on with you, girl, but you might want to come down. I need at least some sort of help as to what the hell's going on around here. Hopefully he'll come back with somebody and we can get rid of this body so I can explain to Pompeo what the hell happened.
What did you do?
Oh, that, well, thing is, see, he's already in my head because I drank him down. And thing is, I can kind of get spirits to kind of do things for me sometimes. It's hard to see them, but I know they're there. And I knew that he had this ribbon in his pocket, and it was important to him, so I used it to tie him to me, and now I can ask him to do me favors.
Can you ask him to stop?
Oh, shouldn't last too long, eh? And she's gonna put the feather away in one of her inside jacket pockets.
It's kind of freaking me out.
I do apologize. See, I grew up in going to the church, and as long as I'd grown up, I didn't know that there was this sort of thing possible, and then I became a vampire, and now I know that there are all sorts of shit out there. Lupines and spirits and what have you. So, again, I do apologize, but I kind of can't help myself.
I mean, you do you, love. We've all got our proclivities. But that was a bit, I didn't like it.
And noted for the future, and I will try my best to not do it again around here. Hopefully, this it was a one-time sort of situation. I typically don't kill my donors, but I was a little more hungry than I thought, and a little more injured than I thought, so that could have clouded my judgment a little bit, you know.
I mean, I was kind of hoping it was an accident. But you never know.
Oh no, very much so an accident. I mean, again, I said he wanted to die, and he told me as much. So I don't think he's quite going to be upset. But it's not him I'm worried about. I'm worried about Pompey, and I did not wish to kill him. But again, you know how things go sometimes.
It's unfortunate. I mean, maybe I could help smooth it over. I am pretty good with people.
I noticed that, and I do appreciate any help you might be able to give me in that situation. And then she's kind of like, as she's saying this, very carefully with a sheet or something, like whatever she can find, kind of covering the body up, like if you've ever seen the cat cover the poop in the litter box. That's she's like behind her back, covering the body up with the sheet while she's looking at Haley.
Now there's a metaphor.
And as you're covering up the body, you glance toward the window because there's a
Oh, I bet that's the lady with the gloves.
Warrington is standing there and working at lifting the window from the outside. Not that the window was locked, but that it's not designed to be pushed up from the outside. And he's trying not to break the actual glass. And he finally gets it going. All right, so I got a car. Y'all need to come on now. Let's go. Come on.
All right, after you.
Wait, what do you mean, let's go now? We're going to leave Nikki behind?
It's either her or us in this particular regard. Y'all done fucked up and pissed on someone who's supposedly a powerful individual's hospitality. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
I mean, he's got a point. We did just deal with an irrational tree cult. What is the option or the odds that this person is more rational?
Well, I'm quite rational, and I am completely aware as to how much I would charge if y'all ruined one of my donors. I don't have that. Do you have a largesse of additional funding that you could just give away right now?
Actually, I quite do. Seeing as how Marcus is going to be in no real need of his considerable wealth anymore, I can more than likely take care of this here situation.
And I take care of half of it, but I do not have any intentions of being bonded or boomed up with somebody who has power I cannot quite quantify.
I mean, to be fair, I left mine better than I found it.
Fine, Warrington, if you wish to leave, then I wish you all the luck. And
all right now.
hopefully we...
Well, don't say I did not offer. I would appreciate your understanding. Y'all have a nice night. And he started hauling ass away from the window, back to the vehicle. It was clear that he was only doing so to satiate some forsworn sense of honor in the fact that you all helped him leave Walkerton. Otherwise, his going for help would have been him simply disappearing, leaving you all firmly holding the bag instead of only partially holding the fullness of the bag, because you are aware that he has made every opportunity to leave as quickly as he can from this particular area.
She rolls her eyes. He does make a good point, but at the same time, he did bring up something that I know I have control of, and it's going to make it a little bit better for me. Again, I will make sure that you are going to suffer no blame in any of this. You did as you were supposed to, and your donor is very much still alive. It is my own fault, and I will take full responsibility for it, as I should. And then she goes for the actual door to go back to Pompey.
As you all leave the still mostly living donors and the scent begins to spread, they finally began to question, hey, where's Emilio? What the fuck is his name? That dude. Yeah, that lousy motherfucker. Hopefully he's sleeping. I don't like him. You don't like anybody. I don't like you. It just proves my point. You all hear it as you all leave the room, closing the door behind you. The home is no less eclectic. The space is no less boorish. But somehow, with 100 million thoughts distracting you from inside, it makes it considerably more palatable. Somehow, with all of the ebbing of the 100 million neurons firing, you're able to not quite focus on each of the hundreds of thousands of small details that don't add up to anything pleasurable for you in the living space of this home. Making your way back to the library, you two enter just as Nikki wraps up her speech, her small statement on where she started, where she ended up, how things got so bad for her, and why. Well, you can add it up yourself, darling, she says, as you all enter the door. Entering into the library, it is clear that Nikki and Pompeo had a conversation about something that did not leave Pompeo in the best of moods. He's thrumming his fingers on the arm of his chair, absently stroking his chin and looking towards the door as you all enter, which is away from Nikki, as if he's mentally tasted something displeasurable but can't spit it out of a sense of decorum. And you all are standing there with a secret on your tongue, without Warrington.
Hello, Mr. Pompeo, was it? I don't mean to be too much of a jamoke, as you say, whatever that means. But we had a bit of an accident. Well, not we, like the royal we, I guess, or not the royal we. I'm not sure how that works, actually. I'm a little not here. But, yeah, there was a bit of an accident.
He glances back to Nikki, then looks towards the door with you two standing there, and he stands up and opens his mouth to speak. And for us, the viewers of this moment, the screen goes completely blank. There's nothing there, not darkness, not whiteness. It's just nothing. It's the absence of everything. As what is to come, what is to be said, is permanently waiting in the near future of our expectations, in the near future of our perceptions. And that near future will be our next episode. Thank you all for a lovely episode. How the coterie comes back to civilization and how they invest in what will be of Gary, South Haven, and Northwest Indiana as a whole. As always, my thanks for the time shared and the moments explored, and see you guys next episode. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night all.